My husband's family sneered family only at Thanksgiving and excluded me from gifts. When I found texts about accessing my inheritance, I transferred everything to a trust. Now they're claiming it was just a joke. I should have seen the signs way earlier, no cap. They were all there, flashing like those annoying check engine lights you keep ignoring in your Chevy until everything goes to hell. But love makes you blind, or whatever Hallmark says. My husband Jake and I met during college. Classic story of the biology nerd, that's me, falling for the business major with the $1,000,000 smile. We dated for 3 years before he popped the question with this stunning emerald ring that belonged to my grandmother. Everything felt perfect, like those filtered Instagram posts that hide all the chaos happening just outside the frame. The first real red flag should have been when we announced our engagement. His mom Charlotte's face did this weird thing where she smiled, but her eyes stayed cold as a January morning in Minnesota. "How unexpected," she said, sipping her Chardonnay like it was medicine. His dad Robert just nodded and mumbled something about moving rather quickly, even though we'd been together for actual years. Jake just laughed it off. "They're just protective," he said. "They'll warm up to you." Narrator voice. They did not warm up to me. Jake comes from serious money, like vacation homes and country club memberships kind of money. My background was comfortable, but nothing fancy. My parents worked hard. Dad is an electrician and mom teaching 2nd grade. When my grandparents passed away last year, they left me a surprisingly substantial inheritance. Not private jet money, but enough to make a difference and secure my future. The inheritance thing became this weird turning point. Suddenly, Charlotte was inviting me to lunch at her bougie country club. Robert was asking about my financial plans. Jake's siblings, Megan and Tyler, started including me in their group chats. I was stupid enough to think they were finally accepting me. Then came Thanksgiving at their McMansion in the burbs. Y'all, I brought homemade apple pie using my grandma's recipe. I wore a cute sweater from Nordstrom that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I even practiced small talk in the mirror like some weirdo. I was ready. The dinner itself was tense but manageable. Charlotte kept correcting my table manners. Apparently, I was using the wrong fork for the salad, heaven forbid. Megan kept referring to Jake's ex-girlfriend Amber and how everyone thought they'd end up together. Tyler barely acknowledged me at all, just kept texting under the table like a teenager. After dinner, Charlotte brought out these gorgeous personalized Christmas ornaments for everyone. They were hand-painted with each person's name and little symbols representing their interests. A golf club for Robert, ballet shoes for Megan, a finance chart for Tyler, a football for Jake. She handed them out one by one with this big ceremonial smile. When she finished, I was sitting there empty-handed. Awkward. Did you forget mine?" I asked, trying to keep it light. Charlotte's face hardened. "Oh, these are family only," she said, not even trying to hide the smirk. Everyone snickered. Freaking everyone. Even Jake's cousin, who I'd met exactly twice. And Jake? My husband? My partner? My supposed ride or die? He stared at his stupid plate, like the cranberry sauce was writing him secret messages. I excused myself to the bathroom and had a mini breakdown next to their fancy hand towels that were clearly for show because they were bone dry. I splashed water on my face, fixed my makeup, and went back out with a smile plastered on my face. No way was I giving them the satisfaction. That night, Jake fell asleep early, knocked out by Turkey and his mom's passive-aggressive comments. His phone kept buzzing with texts. I'm not the snooping type, for real, but something felt off. The screen lit up with a message from Tyler that I could partially see. She has no idea about the inheritance. Hand to God, I never planned to look through his phone. But in that moment, with the family-only comment still ringing in my ears, I needed to know. What I found made me physically sick. A group chat with Jake, his siblings, and his parents. Weeks of messages plotting how they could advise me on my inheritance. Plans for Jake to convince me to invest in Robert's new business venture. Charlotte suggesting Jake put my money in a joint account so it would be easier to access. Tyler joking that they'd finally hit the jackpot with Jake's marriage. And my husband's response? Let me handle it. She trusts me completely. I took screenshots and emailed them to myself, then put his phone back exactly where it was. I didn't sleep a wink that night, just laid there watching the ceiling fan spin while my entire world collapsed around me. Update. Hey everyone, I'm honestly overwhelmed by all your comments and support. Some of you are calling for immediate divorce, but it's complicated. I still love him despite everything. I haven't confronted anyone yet. The family Christmas gathering is tomorrow, and I'm literally sick to my stomach thinking about facing them all. Do I play along and gather more evidence or blow it all up? What would you do if you discovered your spouse's family was plotting against you, and they were in on it? The next morning, I called in sick to work. The moment Jake left for his office, I contacted my grandparents' lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Barbara who always wore pantsuits and had zero patience for BS. "They're after your money," she said flatly after I showed her the screenshots. Unfortunately, this happens all the time. We spent the next 3 weeks setting up an irrevocable trust that would protect my assets. Barbara brought in her financial advisor friend, and together they created this fortress around my inheritance that even Fort Knox would envy. The only person who could access it was me, not Jake, not his family, not anyone. Meanwhile, I was putting on an Academy Award-worthy performance at home, smiling, cooking, talking about future plans. Jake never suspected a thing, which honestly just proved how little he actually knew me. Christmas with his family was a special kind of torture. Charlotte had bought me a generic bath set from Target, the kind you grab last minute when you forget. Someone exists. Meanwhile, everyone else got personalized gifts, super subtle. "We're so happy to have you in the family," Robert said, raising his glass of expensive Cabernet during dinner. "To new beginnings and profitable partnerships." They all clinked glasses while I fought the urge to dump mine over his head. After New Year's, Jake started bringing up the inheritance more directly. "Babe, have you thought about what you're doing with that money? My dad's new tech venture is looking for investors. Could be a great opportunity." I nodded thoughtfully. "I'm actually working on something with a financial advisor." His eyes lit up. "That's great. Maybe my dad's guy could talk to them. He works with all the big shots at Goldman Sachs." "I'll think about it," I said, which seemed to satisfy him. 2 weeks later, everything was in place. The trust was established, my assets secured, and I had opened a separate bank account that only I could access. Barbara had also connected me with a divorce attorney, just in case. I wasn't ready to make that decision yet, but I needed to be prepared. That Saturday, Jake's family invited us over for a financial planning brunch. Subtle as a monster truck, these people. Charlotte had even invited their family financial advisor, a slick dude named Richard, who looked like he practiced his smile in the mirror every morning. I showed up in my best outfit, not to impress them, but because looking good while delivering. Bad news is a power move my mama taught me. Richard spread out some papers on their dining table. "So I understand you've come into some money recently," he said, all professional-like. "That's right," I replied, sipping my mimosa. "And you're looking for investment opportunities?" "Actually," I said, placing my glass down carefully, "I've already made arrangements for those funds." The room got quiet real fast. "What kind of arrangements?" Jake asked, his voice tight. I smiled. "I've established an irrevocable trust. All my assets from my grandparents are now protected in a way that ensures they'll be used according to my wishes." Charlotte's face went from confused to angry in about 2 seconds flat. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means," I said slowly, making eye contact with each of them, "that I'm the sole beneficiary and controller of my inheritance. No one else can access it or make decisions about it." Jake's face turned the color of cherry coke. "You did this without discussing it with me, your husband? Kind of like how you discussed accessing my inheritance in your family group chat without telling me?" I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshots. Y'all, the chaos that erupted was epic. Charlotte started screeching about invasion of privacy. Robert kept saying something about misunderstandings. Megan and Tyler just sat there looking like they'd been caught stealing cookies from the jar. Jake's reaction was the worst. Instead of apologizing, he got defensive. "You went through my phone? That's a violation of trust." The irony was thicker than Thanksgiving gravy. "Trust?" I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. "You want to talk to me about trust while you're plotting with your family to get your hands on my inheritance?" Update. Thank you all so much for your advice and support. I've secured my finances and confronted the family with evidence of their scheming. Jake's response was disappointing. He's more upset about me checking his phone than about his family's plot. I'm staying at my friend's place tonight trying to figure out next steps. The weirdest part? His mom just texted saying they were just brainstorming ways to help me and that I misunderstood everything. Should I even bother responding or just let my lawyer handle all communication from now on? I walked out of that house with my head held high, ignoring their calls and texts as I drove to my best friend Tara's apartment. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and cracked open a bottle of Jack Daniels without asking questions. That's ride or die friendship right there. The text messages started flooding in almost immediately, from Charlotte. You completely misunderstood the situation. We were only trying to help you make smart decisions with your money. From Robert. This kind of reaction is exactly why we were concerned about your financial judgment. From Megan. OMG, this is such a misunderstanding. We love you. From Tyler. It was just jokes. Why so serious? And from Jake. Baby, please come home so we can talk about this. You're overreacting. Family looks out for each other. Tara read the messages over my shoulder and nearly spit out her drink. Family looks out for each other? Is he for real right now? I stayed at Tara's for a week, ignoring Jake's increasingly desperate messages. My lawyer advised me not to respond directly to any of them. Instead, she sent a formal letter to Jake outlining the situation and requesting space while I considered my options. That's when the tone changed. The texts got nasty. Real nasty. Charlotte. We welcomed you into our family despite your background, and this is how you repay us? By making false accusations? Robert. You'll regret making an enemy of this family. We have connections you couldn't. Imagine. Jake's messages were the worst, swinging between apologies and blame. I love you more than anything, followed by, you're being completely irrational. Classic manipulation sandwich, with guilt as the bread and a nice thick slice of gaslighting in the middle. I finally agreed to meet Jake at a Starbucks. Neutral territory with plenty of witnesses, you know? He showed up looking like he hadn't slept in days, which gave me a tiny bit of satisfaction. I don't understand why you're doing this, he said before his butt even hit the chair. We're married. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. I stirred my vanilla latte slowly. Funny how that philosophy only started after I inherited money. That's not fair, he protested. I've always supported you. Have you, though? Was it supportive when your mom excluded me and called me not family and you said nothing? Was it supportive when you plotted with them to get your hands on my inheritance? We weren't plotting. We were just discussing options. I pulled out my phone and read one of his texts aloud. Don't worry, Mom. I'll convince her to invest in Dad's business. She doesn't understand finance anyway, so she'll trust my judgment. He had the decency to look embarrassed. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. And the worst part is, if you had just talked to me honestly, I probably would have considered investing in your dad's business. But you all treated me like some naive piggy bank instead of family. Jake reached. For my hand across the table, I pulled back. What can I do to fix this? He asked, his voice breaking. The truth hit me then, sitting in that generic Starbucks with terrible music playing in the background. I don't think you can fix this. The trust is broken, and I'm not talking about the financial one. I filed for divorce the next day. Jake contested it, of course. His family hired some hotshot lawyer who tried to claim he had rights to my inheritance despite the trust. My lawyer, bless her pantsuited heart, shut that down faster than you can say prenuptial agreement. The divorce proceedings dragged on for months. Charlotte showed up at my workplace once, causing such a scene that security had to escort her out. Robert tried to intimidate my lawyer. Tyler spread rumors about me on social media. Classy bunch, the lot of them. During this time, I reconnected with old friends who'd mysteriously disappeared during my marriage. Turns out Jake had been isolating me from them gradually. Classic control tactic I'd been too blind to see. My friend group rallied around me like a protective circle of Subarus at a camping trip. They helped me move into a new apartment, took me out to distract me from the legal drama, and reminded me who I was before I became Jake's wife. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. I kept my inheritance, my car, and most importantly, my dignity. Jake got the house we'd bought together, which I was fine with, too many memories, and the crushing realization that he'd screwed up royally. The last text I got from Charlotte was a doozy. We were just joking. This whole thing has been blown out of proportion. Please come back to the family. I didn't respond. Some jokes aren't funny, and some families aren't worth returning to. Update. Final update here, y'all. First, thank you for all the support through this nightmare. The divorce is final, and I'm officially free. I've moved into a cute little bungalow closer to my job and adopted the world's chilliest rescue dog. Pics and comments if interested. The trust is intact, and I've started a scholarship fund with part of my inheritance to help students from working-class backgrounds, something my grandparents would have loved. Jake made one last attempt to reconcile last week, claiming he'd changed and cut ties with his toxic family. Too little, too late, my dude. Question for those who've rebuilt after similar betrayals. How long did it take before you felt like yourself again? Some days are still really hard. It's been a year since everything went down. I wish I could say I'm completely healed, but that would be a lie, and I'm done with lies. What I can say is that I'm stronger, wiser, more careful with my trust, but not closed off to the possibility of love. I've started therapy, which has been like having a personal trainer for my emotional health. My therapist, Dana, doesn't let me get away with any self-blame or what-ifs. Forward motion, she always says, you can glance in the rearview mirror, but you can't drive looking backward. The inheritance that caused all this drama? I've put it to good use. The scholarship fund is helping 5 students this year. I've also invested in a small business started by Tara, a bakery that makes the kind of pies that would make my grandma proud. I ran into Tyler at Target last month, of all places. He was in the cereal aisle looking at Lucky Charms like they held the secrets of the universe. When he spotted me, he actually looked ashamed. Hey, he said, shuffling his Nikes against the linoleum. Hey, I replied, ready to push my cart past him. I owe you an apology. The words seemed physically painful for him to say. What we did was messed up. I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Jake's miserable, he continued. Moved back home. Mom still sets a place for you at dinner sometimes, like she's in denial or something. Part of me, a very small, petty part, was satisfied to hear this. But mostly, I just felt sad for all of them, stuck in their toxic little bubble. I hope you all find some peace, I said finally, and meant it. But I've found mine without you. As I walked away, I realized something important. The moment I knew my in-laws never accepted me wasn't at that Thanksgiving with the family-only comment. It wasn't even when I found those text messages. It was every day, in 100 tiny ways, when Jake failed to stand up for me. When he chose their approval over my feelings. When he saw me as an asset rather than a partner. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who do nothing when they should be doing something. These days, I'm focusing on the people who show up, who stand beside me, not because of what I can give them, but because of who I am. My parents, who drove 12 hours when the divorce was finalized just to hug me. Tara, who let me cry on her couch for weeks. My coworkers, who covered for me, on days when getting out of bed felt impossible. Last weekend, I went on a first date with a science teacher named Chris who loves Star Wars and makes terrible dad jokes. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but for the first time in forever, I'm open to finding out. As for Jake and his family, I heard Robert's business venture failed spectacularly. Apparently, financial genius doesn't run in the family after all. They still try to contact me occasionally, a birthday text here, a just checking in email there, but those messages go unanswered. Some jokes aren't worth the punchline. Some families aren't worth the pain. And some lessons, hard as they are, save you from a lifetime of regret. I'm building my own family now. One based on respect, honesty, and genuine love. And trust me when I say, this one's for real.